the question I've got is in relation to the way of the fool, the ego, and suffering. And I'm just looking for your thoughts on it generally. Now, what it says here about the way of the fool, and I know you can probably speak about how this relates to the tarot card of the fool, the jester.
Wow. I got so distracted just listening to your accent. That's so fucking fantastic. It's brilliant. Should have you read the whole thing again.
That's what all the girls say.
Priceless. Well read. Say Dante again.
Dante.
Yeah, priceless. That's that northern accent. Right, now there was a question. Oh yeah, well, about the fool. Yeah, well, see, the fool is many things. First of all, in the tarot card, it was a mistranslation of the word sun. The long F was mistaken for, or the long S was mistaken for an F. So it actually wasn't fool, it was sul, or soleil, the sun.
Yeah.
Of course, this makes sense, because if you look at the damn card, it's got the sun right on it. So the solar child there, and the eagle on the bag, also represents Ahom, the first letter of the Egyptian alphabet, which is again a beginning, alpha, the fool. And then in some other traditions it's called Lamato, the mad one. And that's what brings this out, because the fool then is the initiate, the beginner. He's the young, newborn son of spring who has no learning. But he does have this priceless, intuitive, spontaneous understanding. But that's, for some reason in this material creation, not just quite good enough. We see this in the life of individuals when we're children, and it goes on a mythic level as well. He has this priceless, immediate, spontaneous, look, his head is up, his head is tilted up. He trusts. He's wearing the feather, which is the feather of the goddess Mayat. So he's in balance with the universe. But in being that way, he also lacks experience, which is shown in the next card of the Magus, the magician, who now has to face downwards, focus on the material, the square. So the beautiful, scintillating, androgynous, divinely piped in pleuromic experience is in a way got its bittersweet side as well. So all traditions that basic are on some sort of hermetic, and the tarot has been used by many different organizations to, sort of chart or map these evolutionary degree stages and what have you. And in many traditions, you'll even see that the other 20 cards of the tarot deck are put inside the fool. The fool is put in the center, and the other 21 are considered stages of the fool. So it's like the fool goes through 21, and then of course we have 22 altogether. Well, that's pi, right? 7 over 22, 7 planets, 22 cards. There's a lot of geometry involved in this as well. But the fool is basically every man, but he's in that immediate state. And as I said, that has a great spiritual power to it, and we always have that inside of us. And we must never lose it. But at the same time, we have to walk, as paradoxical as it seems, we have to walk in the world of experience and reality and mature. We got to take what we have in potentia, and we got to develop it. I talked about this in the introduction at Bath, which is that maybe we don't all come in with soul. Maybe that's another illusion. Maybe a man's journey in this life is to gain that which has been loosely called soul, meaning his self, his spirit must be created literally like clay in this life. Then that has enormous implications to see for what is going on in this world, where people are doing quite the reverse of that. The very movement towards collectivizing is again a movement away from that process. Not that all collectivism is wrong on a material level. We need people, we need interactions, we need love relationships. I'm talking more on a psychological level, the dependency that we have. So in this image, as he comes down from the mountain into the material world, there's pitfalls. And the dog is a symbol of Thoth or Hermes, the instinctual warning to make him watch out for these pitfalls. There's a lot of symbolism involved in this. And the idea is that, do you remember, it's like along the stages of the way, this son becomes the hermit. So the hermit, in fact, if you look at the hermit card, I've always translated that, the great cloak. Of course, you know that he has the famous lantern and all of that.
Absolutely.
That great heavy cloak that he's wearing is actually always, I've looked at it as a skin, because he's number 9. There's a death going to take place, because it's the fool going through 9 stages first. And so the card of the hermit is him shedding that skin. He's the old man, but he is the one who is now the old sun, because the sun rose with the fool, and then it sets at Virgo halfway through the zodiac, and it goes to become the old man, the senex. but he doesn't die. It's not a death. Number 9, the number curves round and becomes a 0 again, and the number of the fool is 0. So there's a connection between the young Horus and the old Osiris. Tum, he used to be called Atum, the old god, the failing sun. And there's principles of masculine and femininity, very much deeply involved in this. Like I said, the squaring of the circle, and this whole idea of initiation. And then here's the biggest mystery of the fool, really, to me, is that since his sigil, his number is technically 22, but his occult sigil is 0, a circle. All right. And the tarot is often laid out like a circle. Most journeys of initiation and ritual are always seen as a circle. Even the Masons give a degree, which is a circle. So you understand then that, wait a minute, there's an inherent paradox, which must be noted. And that is that on a circle, you are at every single point on that circle. If you take the journey of life as being a circle, in fact, even our planet Earth is basically a sphere or a circle. So that means then that although you think you're walking a straight line towards a definable goal down there, on a circle, you are at the ending point at every step you take, because you're on a circle that one day will fold back Ouroboros-like on itself. Didn't T.S. Eliot say, in our endings is our beginning? Now there's something incredibly profound in this, because the master, the Zen master, the one who's cracked this, understands that movement is an illusion. That travel, motion, external investigation is really not even necessary, because you are at every single point on the journey of life where you need to be. Now, once you really embody that, it doesn't mean you just stand like a fixed plinth. I'm not saying that you become solid. No. It's a credible relationship between movement, journey, but to realize that you are. Heidegger said it's about the walk through the forest. The goal is not even remotely as important as the steps that you take towards it, because when you get to the so-called goal, it's the journey that led you there. The journey is the enlightening thing, not the goal that you're going to attain. That's an illusion. That's a chimera. That's the idea you have today at this corner of the forest path. When you go around the next bend, you may have a totally different conception of the goal. But where you are right now is the important thing. And that's what we're dealing with in this planet. We're not here right now. There's so much escapism from what is real. Definitely. The fool is the message, is that, and that's why he has a cliff in front of him. That's why there's a precipice right in front of him. They're trying to emphasize the fact that there is no road. As you walk, you create your road.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm only just, I'm only just getting into this, and obviously studying Steiner and the Kybalion at the same time. It's all quite heavy stuff. So
when you look at a Kabbalah, see, in the Kabbalistic tradition, they have 2 paths. They call it the path of the serpent, which is the coiling path through all the 10 sephirah. And then they have this thing called the path of the magician, which is straight up through the central column. Yeah. Some call it the path of the lightning flash, is the longer way. Some people say the path of the arrow. They've got all these different metaphors for it. But they say there's 2 paths. The path of the magician, the path of the sorcerer, who goes through up slowly, gradually, through all the individual spheres of knowledge in order to gain and have all that knowledge. And then there's the path of the mystic, who goes straight to where it needs to be. There's the yin and the yang, right? The circle and the square, the circle and the rod, the ring and the rod. There's 2, tantra and austerity. Look at the chariot card versus its next door neighbor card, lust or strength. The woman with the lion is the path of ecstasy, the path of the tantra, the path of immediate, inherent, rapport with what is, and the austere, fixed charioteer with a stern look and his mechanistic body, right? He's in the chariot. That's the way of science and linearness and yoga. Do they lead to the same place? Probably they do. But there's always this yin and yang. They've even noticed it in quantum science, the pulse and the wave, and that your very observation of it changes which one is which. There's no objective way of saying which one is which. Well, it's no different than when you're dealing with the mind. And to wrap the whole thing around, what this means is that when you know that your steps create the road, then this leads to what I emphasize so strongly in the Disciples of Mysterium work.
Yeah.
As Jung said, when you now enter into that mystical, magical, deep, inner, pleroma world of the unconscious, there is no road there. In fact, there's nothing there. It's like that movie Solaris. That ocean planet out there is what you make of it. This thing, like Bruce Lee said, when you punch the water, it takes the shape of your fist. That's exactly what happens in the unconscious, which is why people are deadly afraid of it. Because those people who are toxic and rotten and manipulative and treacherous and deceptive and evil and rotten and just totally, toxic, you think they want to journey within and go with it? They're going to find demons waiting for them there. Absolutely. We can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But then the other person who's in attention, in other words, we're back to that whole question of attitude again. Attitudinal freedom, which is what McGowan was emphasizing over and over again, and what all true teachers will teach you, is that your attitude is the most important thing to keep free. Once you have that free attitude and your face that you shine into the mysteries is a fearless face, then you can call yourself Alexander the Bloody Great. Then you can say you're like Bruce Lee. You go in there without any fear, and then fear will not follow you. And you'll meet the angels. You'll meet the guides.
So what you're saying is it's all about your intent and your willpower on the path.
100%.
Excellent.
And the world order is all about trying to tempt you to not only fear the demons that they say are in there. Yeah, well, of course they're in there. They're in there for their heads. Don't mean that you have to identify with it, but that's what they want to do. They want to have you identify with their muck. And they're doing a bloody marvelous job. Psychopathy is rampant in the world because everyone is identifying with the destroyer, with the deceiver. They've had years to insinuate their thinking into our thinking.
That's absolutely.
There's Tolkien, not Tolkien, but C.S. Lewis, in one of the most greatest books he ever wrote was called The Silver Chair. And in the end of that,
I'm not familiar with that one.
In the end of that, they have this character who's terribly pessimistic. All the way through it, he's just in a bad mood. But finally, when the deceiver is using her greatest power to deceive the children, and she's saying, but there is no sun, there is no light, there is no God, there is no truth. He sticks his foot in the fire in order to wake himself up, to burn himself out of her spell. And you know what he says? He says, even if my dream of all of these things that you're talking about is a dream, then I will rather have my dream than your reality.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
That is individualism.
That's my cup of tea.
That's attitudinal freedom. That's attitudinal freedom. Because the spell is very deep. And they've made this web in such a way that you will even trap yourself even deeper into it by trying to be free in the wrong way.
Yeah, that's it. I can't really disagree. I'd like to try. I don't like agreeing all the time, but I can't find anything on that one.